If you're working with documents in Box, such as invoices, contracts, or internal forms, a lot of the information that you care about is actually stuck within the file itself. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a small CLI-first Python workflow that uses Box AI to extract structured fields from documents and write them back as Box metadata. We're going to generate the app using vibecoding with a simple agents.md spec, then run it across real files. Now, the goal here isn't one big production app. It's to show you how quickly you can go from a metadata schema to something that you can actually run across your existing Box content. I'm Andrew, Senior Developer Advocate here at Box. Let's get started. All right, here in Box, we've got a folder of example invoices and receipts. So for example, this one, or maybe even this one, and this one. Now, the end goal is to extract the same set of fields from each document, things like invoice number, order date, customer name, and total, that write those fields back to Box as metadata so that they're searchable, filterable, and usable in downstream workflows. Here's a schema that we're going to anchor on, which is a Box metadata template. This is going to be the structure that we want to populate consistently across all the files that we just saw. Once we have a schema like this, you can build real workflows all on top. So things like routing, automation, approvals, lifecycle management, and that's all driven by metadata. So with everything in place, let's now use Cursor to vibecode the app. And the key here is this agents.md file. You can think of agents.md as guardrails for the coding assistant. It's going to pin down the exact SDK we want, the import paths that work in practice, the call pattern for API endpoints, and the behavior of the CLI, including support for both single files and entire folders of content. Now, the goal here is that you can copy exactly this kind of file into your own project and generate a working workflow all without any guesswork. All right, we have the schema, which is a metadata template, and we have the guardrails, which is our agents.md file. Let's now generate the workflow itself. I'm going to keep the prompt intentionally simple here because all the real constraints already live in agents.md. We'll first open up the chat, then paste in this prompt. Use agents.md as the guide and build a small Python CLI app that extracts information from the documents in Box using Box AI and writes it back as metadata. In short, the spec pins the SDK, the auth model, the exact import paths, and the behavior of the CLI, including support for both single files and folders. So instead of spelling all of that out again, I can just point the model at the spec and let it generate the project. Let's go ahead and submit this. And there's our response. You can see the model reasoning through the spec here. It's really just reading agents.md and mapping all of that to the project structure and the code. Then at the very end, you can see that it generated the full CLI setup, including auth, extraction, metadata writeback, and the entry point to run it all. So let's close this up. And to double check, let's open up the file tree. We have our Box client. We have our CLI entry point. Here's our extraction. And of course, all our metadata logic. All right, let's close it all, give ourselves some more space. All right, we actually just created a bunch of code without testing anything yet. So let's go ahead and run this. Behind the scenes, I've actually already installed dependencies and set environment variables like my client ID, client secret, enterprise ID, my metadata template key, and also a model override. So let's now run this workflow on the folder that we saw earlier so we can check out what gets extracted. Let's open up the terminal. Then we'll run the CLI on our folder. We'll hit enter. And there it is. Scroll back to the top. Here, you can see it iterating file by file and printing out normalized extracted metadata. Some files might actually have missing fields, but that's actually expected if, for example, the value isn't present in the first place. The key here is that this workflow is deterministic. Extract, normalize, then print, and then write back to Box as metadata. Let's now check out the final result in Box. We'll check out the first invoice over here. Then after opening the file, let's check out the metadata. And there it is. We can see the template fields populated down over here. Just for good measure, we'll check out one more. Again, this workflow extracted our values from this invoice and sent it back to Box as metadata. And there we have it. Your documents become structured data directly where the content already lives. We just saw the full loop in action, taking information that lives inside documents, then turning it into structured metadata directly in Box. What's great is how little overhead there was to get there. You define the schema, generate a small extraction workflow, then apply it to real files. Then, once that metadata is written back, you can use it immediately for searching, filtering, and downstream automation, all without moving the content out of Box or building a heavy system around it. For more on all things extraction, metadata, and Box AI, check out our documentation. I'm Andrew, Senior Developer Advocate here at Box. See you next time.